Check the roll, please.
Mr. Smith, Ms. Tanner,
Here.
Mr. Impastato, Mr. Burt, Mr. Laughlin, Mr. Corbin,
Here.
and Mr. Strickland. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay. So Leslie, you want to start leading us through the finance ordinance, please? Oh, first, I'm sorry, we're going to have a review of the monthly finance reports generated by the finance department. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So the monthly finance report that we distributed to the council includes the sales tax collections through the month of June 2024. And on this report, we have information relative to the actual collections in 22, 23, 24 for the first 6 months of the calendar year. And the percent change for 2024 versus 2023 is an increase of 1.95%. And as compared to 2022, it's 1.5%. This last month alone was up 3.95%. But as you can see, it kind of fluctuates throughout the year. The other information is when we're going to add some information to this report relative to the total collections made by the tax collector from Sales Tax District 3 and the amounts that are distributed to the municipalities for this net amount. The next report that you have before you is the budget to actual comparison report for the first 7 months of the year. So as of July 31st, 2024, 7/12 of the year, 58.3% of the year, we have all the funds that are in the operating budget ordinance with the information as to actual collections or actually spent year to date, encumbered, and the amount available or to be collected, along with those percentages and some notes on each of them when the variance is greater than the 58%. Did you want to go through some of the things that we went through earlier today?
Sure.
Or
Sure.
I think there was a question regarding state revenue sharing with regard to that we were at 36.8% of the year. And as the note says, the way the state law reads is that the state makes distributions to the parish in December, March, and May of each year. It is not an even amount each time. It varies by distribution. I think some of the other things were in the other revenue, not only in the general fund, but some of the other funds. That is where interest income is posted. And when we budgeted for 2024, the interest rates were lower, much lower last year. So the budget, the actuals that we're receiving now from our investments is greater than what we budgeted. So that's where you'll see a variance there. Was there anything else in particular, Mr. Corbin?
I think one of them would be on page 2, where we talked about the St. Tammany Sheriff, the jail, and the fact that it's 25% less than 58.5%.
Yes, sir. So the actual year-to-date spent is that we're reimbursing the sheriff based on invoices received from them. Generally takes 15 to 30 days to make reimbursement to them, but they wait until the month is over, then they prepare an invoice. So we probably receive it within about 30 days after the end of the month. So there's just a lag time from the time that they send us the invoice for the month.
And then on the same page, we talked a little bit about the difference between the cash flow for grants and then a cash flow for contingencies. I think the cash flow for contingencies is worth a little bit of an explanation.
Okay, so the cash flow for contingencies is $1 million. And I talked to you about one of the things that we had. Those are things that have come up that are unforeseen. For example, during one of the recent hurricane events, when we had a great deal of debris, we did debris removal in the private subdivisions. That was not something that was covered by FEMA. So the general fund, we used that. We did a budget amendment to budget to use the funds that we had in the cash flow for contingencies for that purpose. And then you also requested information on the cash flow for the assessor under that revised statute. And what I explained was that under this revised statute, the assessor makes purchases for maps, different things that he needs with regard to preparing the roll. It's about $400,000, and the parish governing authority will pay for those items. And then at year end, after the tax roll is certified, then we will allocate those out and invoice all the taxing bodies for reimbursement. So we have to cash flow that for pretty much the whole year because they have 90 days to pay us at the end of the year. And then there's also the JDC grants. So the judicial court has, I think, just over $2 million of SAMHSA grants that we process payroll for. And so as we process the payroll, we're making the payments for that payroll. We invoice the judicial court for reimbursement on a monthly basis. And so there's a cash flow to provide for that payroll.
Very good. Thank you, Leslie.
Mm-hmm.
The one other one I'd like you to mention is on page 5, just that we discussed that ending available balance. That's a corner balance, $942,000.
Yeah, so the 942,000, you were asking why there was an available balance, and one of the things that we discussed was that during the budget process in 2024, when the coroner presented his budget, he had requested expenditures of I think it was almost $7.6 million. And during the discussion at the hearing with them, some of the information they were providing was relative to payroll increases that they had budgeted for. And at the meeting, Ms. Tanner recommended an amendment to their budget to reduce it to an amount not to exceed the prior year's expenditures. So that's why there was a $942,000 increase in the fund balance. If, when we adopt millages for the ad valorem tax, we'll have to do amendments to the revenue side whenever you do that, if you adopt a millage lower than was recommended.
Very good. Leslie, thank you very much. The last thing I'd like to just call to the attention of my peers, if to check your lighting districts. Some of the lighting districts have expired. They're funded for an extended period of time. It's listed on the sheet, so you know when their funding is going to expire. But there are a couple that are fairly near term when the funding is going to expire, so it'd be worth checking those and making sure that your areas want those to either be renewed or they're going to go away. Okay? Okay, now we want to review the proposed finance ordinances and resolutions on the August 1st, 2024 council, on the September 5th, 2024 council meeting agenda. Meeting agenda available in the council office or on the parish website, www.stpgov.org.
So sorry.
No worries. All right. Do I need to read each one? Okay. Ordinance number 7691.
An ordinance to amend the 2024 operating budget. This is Amendment 15, and in this amendment, we are transferring $75,000, let me just make sure, from the general fund to a capital projects fund for the Department of Technology for the Munis reboot project. And then and then we're also, there's an accounting transactions that we have to make or for our financial reporting purposes with regard to subscription-based information technology. So when we purchase subscriptions that span more than one period of time, we have to, like a lot of times we're buying them for 3 years at a time, we have to account for that. And it's almost like, so it's an other funding source, and it's a capital outlay because we're doing it for multiple years. So it's just an accounting transaction that we have to do.
Very good. Thank you, Leslie. Ordinance calendar number 7692.
Ordinance calendar 7692 is an amendment to the 2024 capital improvement budget. This is Amendment 35, and this is the actual project, the $75,000 for the Munis reboot. And the administrative comment said the project may take up to 18 months.
Very good. Thank you. Ordinance calendar number 7693.
This ordinance calendar is the Amendment 34 to the 2024 capital improvement budget. It is to increase the budget for the Square 54 drainage, which is in the Mandeville area. It's to increase it by $175,000. So it's going from $380,000 to $555,000.
Okay. Ordinance calendar number 7694.
7694 is Amendment 33 to the capital improvement budget. These projects are being funded by Sales Tax District 3, the sales tax, and there are 4 projects. The US 11 corridor, it's $200,000. The Dove Park subdivision drainage, $250,000. These are all new projects. Oak Mill subdivision drainage, $400,000. Tammany Forest subdivision drainage, $400,000.
Thank you. Ordinance calendar number 7695.
7695 is a grants budget amendment. It is amendment number 9, and there are, I think, 8 awards that we're recognizing here. Some in the Health and Welfare Department for the LAHEAP funding, which is energy assistance. It's an increase of $291,597. For HUD entitlement, it is $1,340,616. For the HUD Home Investment Partnership Program, $472,344. And 2 increases in the Community Service Block Grant, one for $5,926 for fiscal year 23 funding, and one for $5,333 for fiscal year 2024 funding. In the infrastructure grants, we have a grant from OCD for Restore Louisiana for just over $7 million. We will come back later when projects are identified to utilize these grant funds. And then the last one is for the what they call the mass transit Part B money. It comes from DOTD for $75,841.
Very good. Thank you,
That's
Leslie.
using an annual allocation.
All right, ordinance calendar number 7696.
7696 is Amendment 16 to the operating budget. This is in the fund called Jury Service. So we worked with the new clerk to discuss that the amount that the cost of jury service or the number of jurors that are serving, that we needed to increase that budget by $40,000 to cover the payment to the jurors.
And lastly, ordinance calendar number 7697.
So 7697 is Amendment 36 to the capital improvement budget. These projects are at Safe Haven, and what we're doing here, as per the administrative comment, is that we are exchanging funding for 2 projects that are already approved. So for the Quad A renovation of Suites 101, 102, and 104, we are going to take funding from capital outlay, or we're going to increase the funding at capital outlay from $2 million to $2,370,000, and then we're going to remove the funding that was there from ARPA funds of $950,000 and move the $950,000 to the Safe Haven Complex parking expansion, so that that project now has an increase from $370,000 to $950,000.
Ms. Councilwoman Tanner.
Thank you. This is all grant money, I assume, that we're moving.
Yes.
What is the status, or by the next council meeting, can we get a status of Safe Haven and where we're going and what the project is going to entail? Because we know, other than building buildings, we do not have money to run the operation. So I think the council would like an update, at least at the next council meeting, unless you want to give us something
Push your
now.
button again. Ms. Hayes.
I think we have a meeting already scheduled with you for next Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
We want an update on Safe Haven.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Seeing no or hearing no questions, I entertain a motion to refer all the items above discussed to the full council. So moved. Arthur?
A
Oop.
second.
You got them? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing only one opposition. I entertain a motion to adjourn. Second? All in favor?